All right, guys, I'm back. I'm in the shop today, and we're going to do a whole shop experience. So a few people have asked me to get back to this. If you remember from the Self-Reliance box, and I don't really remember the mission number. I'll have to put the mission number. It'll be somewhere over here. But the Self-Reliance box sent us another do-it-yourself kit, a Condor knife kit, which is pretty cool and pretty simple. And it's got a lot of potential on its own, but in this shop, with what they can do here at Patriot, there's all sorts of stuff. So not only are we going to work on the handles, but we're going to show you what can be done with just a little bit extra. Putting some extra coating on this blade, we're going to get it all blasted out, we're going to Cerakote it, we're going to make this thing a real workhorse that's capable of surviving just about any environment you can think of. And we're going to put some cool custom scales on it too, so this should be a lot of fun. Now, we want this one to have a little flair, a little something special. So I have this block of stabilized pine cone and resin, and I've had it for a while, haven't done anything with it, and I think it's going to give this knife a really nice look. Now, before I let Darren loose, my father-in-law, with the blast cabinet and the Cerakote and everything, I want to make sure that any grinding I do is already done, because I don't want to undo any of his hard work that he's going to do. So I'm going to get the scales ready before we go ahead and do any of the coating on this thing. So the first thing is just to, on the bandsaw, I need to cut myself a couple slabs of this so that we can start making scales out of it. I've got two really nice looking pieces here. If you take a look, you can see a lot of that nice pine cone grain in there. Now, these aren't oiled up or anything yet, but I think they're going to look really cool with the resin once they're all polished up and everything. And so these will be our nice outside faces. We got to go sand them down so they're nice and flat though, and then I can start shaping them to the actual knife itself. And then once I get the scale shaped, then I'm going to hand this off to Darren, and you're going to see the whole process of what goes into putting a Cerakote coating on and why it's different from anything else. I want to make sure that we get this piece nice and flat on both sides, but especially the side that's going to rest against the knife, so we get a nice, good fit when we put it all together. Still got just a little bit to go. So these are basically ready. You can see we've got some really nice pine cone detail in there. These are just rough sanded, just rough cut. Still miles of work to go, but I think I'm gonna have them sit kind of like so on the knife, and you're gonna see some really cool texture on there. It's a shame we're gonna lose all of this, kind of the spraying outwards, but you know, can only have so much. Anyway, I'm now gonna mark for holes and start cutting and shaping to make that shape that handle. The kit came with these nice breast pins, but I like this a little bit better. So I'm going to use these, just these screw sets that I got, aftermarket online to hold everything together. A little bit more secure, and they're just a little easier to work with. So they basically, they fit these holes already, so all I got to do is fit complementary holes in the scales. I already drilled holes based on those pins. All I got to do is widen them up a little bit to accept these, and should be good to go. And as you can see, these fit perfectly in there now. So I got to wedge this one in. This one needs to be a little bit tighter, drill a little bit farther into the scale. But this way, they fit nicely in there. And then when I attach the screws through there and I countersink them, everything's going to fit very tight and very nicely, and I'll know exactly where everything goes. So here's a rough bit of the scales. You don't even need the screws to hold them on right now, but of course, we're going to finish them with the screws. I'm going to screw them in nice and tight, I'm going to take it to the bandsaw and cut off some of this extra before I grind, just to make it a little bit easier to grind, and then I'm going to start grinding the rough shape of these things. Looking pretty good, and this has been a very simple process so far. Now, of course, if you don't have the power tools, it's a little bit harder, but pretty easy. So this is the final version of the rough cut scales. Now I've still got work to do on them a lot because I still have more ideas for what I want to do to them. But you can see where this is going. Nice handle on this knife. But now we need to get it coated and done so that I can finish up working on the scales, making it a nice comfy knife. But get this totally corrosion resistant and coated and treated and looking badass. So I can't wait to see what this is all like when it's all done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave most of this smooth, but put in just a little bit of a rocky pattern around the edges for grip and comfort, and it's going to look phenomenal. So this just came out of the oven. It has to sweat. So basically, by the way, this is my first sandblasting job. Pretty proud of it. No big deal. So to prep for Cerakote, first step is to sandblast or media blast, whatever you want to call it. And this is, I think he said garnet 120 grit, just to prep the surface. A little bit of the logo is still on there, but obviously I'm going to have to redo the edge and everything when it's all done. But yeah. I learned how to sandblast today. Yay! So this goes in the oven, not hot enough at all to ruin a heat treat or anything, just hot enough to get whatever oils or any kind of solvents or anything that's on the metal to sweat out of it and get it ready. So now it just came out, it's cooling, some other cool parts you see that are ready for coating. I want to know what that goes to because that looks awesome. But in a little bit we'll go mix up the actual Cerakote and then get this sprayed on.
So we're going to mix up some Cerakote Elite.
Now, can you give us a quick blurb on how that's different from regular Cerakote and why we'd use that?
So Cerakote Elite is a new formulation. It goes on half as thick as a traditional H series. So where all the color resides in the Cerakote line basically is in the H series. The Elite series has only got about 8 colors. Don't expect that palette to grow anymore. Regular H series goes on at about 1 mil thick and is good for 2,000 hours of continuous salt spray without corroding. The Elite will go on at a half a mil thick, so half the thickness of the H. Take 3,000 hours of continuous salt spray without corroding, and is a more premium Teflon-like feel. Really, it's slick, so great for tight-fitting areas, on ARs, any gun. It just gives it a really nice, clean look. So add some hardener now.
And by the way, for everybody that watches and says like, hooray, Doc has his own shop, and I say, no, it's not my shop, it's his shop. This is my father-in-law, Darren. He's the expert at all this stuff. I just get to come here and play.
Well, we play too.
Yeah, but you have to actually produce work at a certain rate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're measuring down to the hundredths of a gram when we add our hardener. And now that we've got our hardener and our Cerakote Elite mixed, we have to shake them up and get them mixed together. And Cerakote Elite requires a specific filter. It's I think a 325 filter to be used. Looks like this. So fortunately it's a reusable filter. And we're using the Iwata, what is it, LPH 80 spray gun. Real nice, excellent guns for this.
Before I turned on the camera, I got a great explanation of that spreadsheet back there. The short version is, by doing all these super accurate calculations, it lets them, if you get the gun coated here, or whatever it is coated here, and you know somehow you manage to scratch that coating, because everything is so accurately measured, they know exactly how they've coated it in the past. They can get close to the absolute perfect match if they ever need to recoat anything. So it looks like, you know, better than average chance that it was never recoated, that it was just the original paint job, which is pretty cool, because I don't think a lot of shops use that accurate a measurement system. Ethan, are you excited to see this? Yeah. And you're gonna attack Grandpa while we're doing all this cool man stuff? We had a jumping competition earlier in the back. He won.
Of course.
Yeah.
Let it flash off, and then we'll put it in the oven and run it up for cure.
How long does it cure for?
1 hour at 300 degrees.
Okay.
It's not the touch, but it's Let's go to the booth of Trudeau.
That's a really nice finish. It's a very, very nice finish. It's going to look super good with the handles on it. And I like that you can still see a little of the brand mark on there too.
Didn't even see it there, Condor.
Yeah, sweet. That's going to look awesome.
Let it cool.
So that didn't take long outside here to cool off. Yeah, it has that feel. It's really nice. I can't wait to get the handles. I think they're in my pocket. Once these are all polished up and everything, I think it's going to look really, really good. It's going to be a good combo. That's cool. And there's Ethan. He's so excited he's jumping. All right, another day in the shop. Lots of work to do. I'm going to have to disassemble the handle. I just wanted to get kind of a feel for it. I'm really happy with the way this is coming out. So is Darren, with the coating and the look of the handles. So we got to countersink these screws eventually today. We also need to do some grinding, some edge work. I want to taper the backs of these handles a little bit. I mean, it's mostly done, but now we got to make it comfortable and a little more stylish. I want to polish the pine cone grit a little bit so it looks a little nicer, but also put some texture in there. So, hey, let's just get to work. Starting with a 400 grit sanding, wet to dry sandpaper, starting dry, of course, just to start getting rid of some of these grind lines and start smoothing out and evening out the finish. I'm going to be progressively moving to finer and finer grits, especially like we talked about here, but first I want to kind of get everything evened out and get rid of a lot of those grind lines. Start bringing out the natural shine of the resin and the natural look of the pine cone, and just evening out some areas that I think need to be evened out. I just use whatever kind of gun oil or whatever else is lying around. You could use WD-40 for this, or I've used well-deployed shredder machine oil, but here it comes. You just want to make sure you work that oil into all the nooks and crannies, because that's what's really going to give this that very nice finished look. Some people will wipe this off right away. I like to let it sit and absorb into everything just for a little bit, but look at that, that's gorgeous. Yeah, it won't look this shiny when it's all done. We're going to wipe some of the oil away, but it will have that nice, not slick, wet, but polished look. You can see all the detail in the resin and the pine cone showing through there. That's going to look amazing on top of that really premium Cerakote finish. Oops. This stuff is not cheap, by the way. I think I got it at, I think I bought it at knifekits.com, not USA Knife Maker, where I get a lot of my materials. I'm not 100% sure, but you know, I'll check. I'll see, but boy, you can't argue with the way that looks when it's all done, huh? Well, would you take a look at that? That's gorgeous. I love this. Between the finish of the Cerakote and the handles, this went from a what, 17, 18, less than $20 kit to, I mean, really a custom knife. This is a really beautiful piece. We're not done yet though. I got to put that edge back on, because during the sandblasting it took some of the edge off. So got to get it sharpened, and we were talking about sheaths, Kydex maybe, or something else. I'll look into that, but final step is to be put the edge back on and then take it out for a test drive and see what it can do. But that is kind of what you can do with Cerakote. Take just a plain piece of 1075 steel and turn it into something durable. This is not going to rust, this is not going to corrode, and it has a better, much better, like a real field look. So here is a finished product, and I think it came out pretty nice. I put just a little bit of a polish on those scales, again, just to show off some of the detailing there, and those are beautiful. The resin looks great, the pine cone looks great. Such a good natural look with a little bit of the kind of rocky texture, bark, rock, whatever you want to call it, on the edges, but nice flat detail on the sides. Had a little bit of a crack in the material. This stuff does get brittle, and you know, I'm not sure when that happened, to tell you the truth. I just noticed it as I was polishing, but this is very comfortable, fits in the hand really nicely. It's really, really, I don't know, I love it. I love it. And I wanted just a matte black Cerakote, and you know, I got talked into the premium stuff. Said let's give it a try, and I think it looks great. It is a different look than the regular Cerakote Midnight Black, and he was right. It looks phenomenal with this brown pine cone finish. This is the kind of knife you just want to take out into the woods and camping with you and stuff. And I got a lovely edge on it. Let's give it a shot real quick. It wasn't too much of a challenge to take the Cerakote off. A little more difficult than I thought, but I mean, that's what Cerakote does, right? I ended up using the Lansky medium to find diamond hones to put that edge back on. A great cutting edge on this 1075 steel. Cuts through this cord like it's barely even there. And this isn't even like finished honed. This is just, you know, I did medium to fine diamond. I didn't give like the finishing hone to it. I didn't strop it or anything. It's just some decent steel, you know. Nice cutting. So I can't remember what the actual cost that BattlBox said this little Condor kit, you know, is, but with a little bit of time and effort and a little investment in some nice materials, this turns into a very, very nice knife. With the Cerakote on it, it's durable as all hell. You could easily make this last years and years and years. So, awesome. For those of you who want to see another start-to-finish project, here it is. I know this isn't a very involved project. We're going to do more than just this, but here's the point. Anybody can do this. Really, anybody can do this, guys. You can get one of these kits. You can buy yourself some materials. You could use some pieces of wood in the backyard. You don't need power tools. Power tools make it easy to do, but power tools, on the other hand, if you don't know what you're doing, you can destroy stuff really easily with power tools. You could do this just as well with like a hacksaw and some sanding blocks and sandpaper and a hand drill. The point is, any of you with limited experience, you know, using tools, you could do this. This doesn't have to be somebody that really knows what they're doing. So I encourage you, make yourself a custom. Make yourself something of your own to really call your own and be proud of. Find a material you like, you know, and you don't have to spend money on something like a, you know, resin and stabilized pine cone. Find, you know, an old pallet, like a shipping pallet, and break some of the wood off and use some of that wood. Sand it down, stain it. It'll have a story behind it, and it'll be uniquely yours. Cut down a big fat branch, you know, from a tree in the woods and plane it and get yourself some slabs. Or don't, just, you know, cut the branch, you know, big fat branch in half so that you have the flat side towards the blade blank, and then just shape it the way you want it. But any of you guys who watch this and say, hey, that's great work, I wish I could do that, you could do this. You absolutely could do this. This is a great way to start getting into custom knife stuff. And, you know, you want to make your blade a little bit more durable and a little uniquely yours, more so than the average bear, look into getting it coated. You could do all sorts of stuff. You could put unique graphics on it. We've got some videos coming out showing how, you know, Cerakote unique graphics are put on there. Anything you can imagine. You could make your own knife one of a kind like none other. It's pretty easy, and I really encourage you guys to get out and make one of your own. You know, it's one thing to, you know, do a folder that requires, you know, mechanics and all that stuff, or, you know, something that has milling or all that, but this is great for a beginner. So be adventurous. Go test your skills, learn the skills, develop the skills. Make yourself something cool to be proud of and show off to your friends, all right? And if you need help, there's plenty of people all over the place that I'm sure would help you. I'd be glad to give whatever advice I have to give, and I'm sure there's a million other people all around the world that would help you too. So anyway, guys, I hope you think this is cool. I think this is cool. I think this is awesome. Let me know what you think of this. Let me know what you think, what you would have done to this kit, what you would have used, what you think would have looked better, coatings, handle material, colors, whatever. What would you have done to this, you know, to do it a little bit different? And then what would you do for a sheath? I'm thinking of either Kydex or making something out of leather. I'm not sure. I think leather would go with the natural look of this, but let me hear it. Tell me what you think. And cool. So thanks, guys, for watching. You're all absolutely awesome. I appreciate every single one of you, and I'll be back again real soon.